Hi, I'm Sarah from Quail Cottage.
And I'm Katie from Grown by Lightning Hollows.
We're two flower farmers here in Australia, and together we're your bloom mates.
This is an episode of just Sarah and I, and we're going to talk about selling retail. That's going to be a little bit more focused on kind of the Grown by Lightning Hollow side, because I would say that's more what I do. And then we're also going to do an episode later on about selling to florists, and that's kind of more what Sarah specializes in.
And just so people are aware, we are separated today. We're doing this over video call, so bear with us. It's a bit different, but we're making do. Yeah, so we're focusing on selling retail today, specifically roadside stand, because that's what Katie has the most experience doing. I haven't really sold retail much. In my early days, I did just by orders, like people contacting me and ordering and either picking up or me delivering. But Katie will be doing most of the answering of questions. I will be asking them. And we'll go over a few other sales outlets other than roadside stands, but yeah, that will be the main topic that we'll cover. All right, so we'll jump straight into why you might want to sell retail.
I think some of the benefits are, like, for one, when you're starting out, it's just so easy to get started selling retail. I mean, especially if you have some like friends and family that are supportive. I feel like that's such a nice way to start. But for me, it just feels like less pressure, because people buying retail flowers, I mean, they're not going to be flower people in the way that florists are. So they can be a little bit more forgiving. And then I also think it's so much easier to do a bit of like trial and error and work out what you want to do or what your style is and that sort of thing, because it feels like less commitment. Because if you can be like, yes, I will have beautiful flowers that I can put together into a nice bouquet, as opposed to I will have X amount of stems of this particular color of this variety. That is what some florists want.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's just a nice way, again, to start to kind of test out what you'll have. It's a way that you can still be bringing some money in. But yeah, you can kind of just work out exactly how the flowers are going to work, and like, do you have to do specific things to hydrate them and all of that? Again, without having committed your flowers or without having to put yourself out there too much as like, buy my flowers because they're going to be the best quality that you can get, which I guess is more kind of what we want to say to florists once we're more experienced.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I started selling retail. I only did it for a few months. Yeah, it's a tricky one, because you may start with the intention to want to sell to florists, but it is a daunting thing to put yourself out there, and especially when you haven't really tested the waters yet and you may have only been growing for a short time. Yeah, it does feel easier to sort of use the general public as your test dummies.
Yes.
Which, I mean, sounds bad, but it's true. But there's also the reverse, which we've been talking about this a bit lately, especially since speaking with Beck the other day from Dish the Dirt. It came up how in rural areas it's tricky when small growers are selling retail direct to the public, because it kind of takes away from the existing florists in that town, or there's probably just one in a rural area. But it's also tricky because you've got to try and convince those florists to buy from you in the first place, which if you haven't got much experience, that's difficult, especially when those florists are used to buying wholesale and they may not necessarily want to not mentor you, but you know what I'm trying to say. They don't want to have
the patience with you as
hold
you're
your
learning
hand
and
through
give you
you.
feedback and all of that.
Yeah.
Then, I guess of me being like, I think selling retail is a really good place to start. If your eventual goal is to be selling mostly wholesale, I guess you don't particularly want florists. The first thing they know about you is that you're advertising to people that might potentially be their customers.
But I don't know what the solution is for people in rural areas, in small towns. Like, it's a double-edged sword. You need to practice. You need to gain experience. I really don't know what the answer is, but I just thought that I would mention that.
Yes, yeah. One of the things that I really love, particularly with the stand, but I guess also it would be if you're in markets and that sort of thing, anything where someone gets to come and look at a range of flowers and choose, to me, that's just the perfect scenario because I can just make what I like and then people can come and if they like it, they can buy it. And if they don't have to. And so like I am way quicker and a bit more ruthless when I'm making bunches that are not pre-sold. And so I really love that as well, that aspect, as opposed to like when someone has ordered a bunch of flowers off me, which is much less common. Yeah, I spend so much more time and I probably put more flowers in than I should because I'm like, oh, well, I want them to really like it. Like I want them to see the value in it and that sort of thing. So yeah, I particularly, like I feel like my happy place is retail where people can walk up and choose what they like and buy what they like.
So how did you actually start selling retail? And was the roadside stand the first avenue you took?
Yeah, it was. I'd given flowers away before that, but hadn't sold any, like given them to friends and that sort of thing. So I had been putting flowers together, but I always had in my head that I wanted a roadside stand, even though at the time it wasn't possible out the front of our property. And we had like a major roadworks that took 18 months, I think, to be done, literally right on the side of our property. So the first thing that I did was I went and approached a farm who had a coffee shop, and that took a lot of guts for me. I don't like doing that sort of thing, but I took them a bouquet of flowers and was going to ask, can I build a little stand and put it next to not a coffee shop, a coffee van that was at the front of a rural property. And he flat out said no. He didn't give me the time to give any of my little spiel that I had put together. He was just like, yeah, just flat out said no. And so I had an appointment.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was. It was really brutal and very discouraging. And I feel like it took me so much psyching myself up to go and do it. But then, yeah, I had an appointment at a vet. And while I was waiting there, his next door neighbor who sold hay, I found her Facebook page and I messaged her and I asked her and she was so excited. And I still had the bunch of flowers with me. So on my way back home from the vet, I dropped in and gave her the flowers and organized to start selling from her property, which I don't know what the guy would have thought, the fact that like a week after I asked him, flowers popped up at her house. But it was so nice. And she was like, yeah, such a great supporter. And they already had a stand that they would normally sell hay out of, but they didn't have any hay at that time. So I didn't even have to build my stand. I just used theirs to start with. And yet she promoted on her book and she encouraged me to share it on like the local Facebook pages, which I wasn't planning to do because I'm not great at putting myself out there in that way. But yeah, the first day that I did it was a Saturday and I took down 10 bunches and yeah, they all sold and I got like, I don't know, like over 100 comments on the post that I did in the Facebook page of everyone just being really
wow.
Yeah, it was so lovely.
So encouraging. I don't know if you mentioned either that this is on like a really high traffic road.
Yes. And it's the same road that I live on, but just like a different end of it. So like it was probably like technically it's in a different suburb where they live, but it is still the same road. So how I moved it home was, I was pregnant at the time when I started selling there. And then once I'd had my son, it was so much harder to go down there and set it up. And the roadworks at our house had finished. And so I decided to try and move it back. And it definitely took a while for people to adjust, I guess, in like a location change. So I'd say that's not ideal, but it was so worth it because, man, it's so much easier just walking to my, like a different area.
So convenient.
Than having to load all of the flowers, my kids, everything into the car every day.
And you can top up the stand partway through the day if you want to as well now.
And I also had people confused if they would order from me, they'd go there to pick them up thinking that was my house. Yeah. But I do think it would be worth it if your property isn't isn't able to have a stand, but you know of somewhere that could. Yeah, I do still think it's a viable option. And I paid her 20% of what I was selling the flowers for. I think that was our arrangement.
That's interesting. That's good, I think, because then if you sell less or you don't sell any at all, or you're not out of pocket. All right, let's jump into like what the barriers and challenges are with retail. And I think this will sort of span across all of the retail avenues a bit. There will probably be a bit of a focus on roadside stand, but it will be relevant to all outlets. So what have you found tricky about getting established?
Yeah, definitely just like trying to get people to notice the stand. I think I have like a decent following on Instagram and that's so lovely. But there is a bit of a disconnect and still now of people that buy my flowers don't necessarily follow me on Instagram. So it is
Yeah.
quite hard to get people just to notice. And sometimes when I meet people that live around me and I'm like, oh, that flower stand? And still they're like, no, I've never noticed a flower stand. I drive past there every day. Which, yeah,
Wow. I feel like that would be different now that you've got, like, the stand is bigger and you've also got a new, bigger flag that I don't know why it stands out more, because, like, your old flag was red, so you'd think that's
yeah.
a bright color, but now your new one is bright pink, and somehow that is more eye-catching.
Yeah, but I reckon we would just notice it so much more than regular people because we're on high alert for anything flower related.
That's so true.
But yeah, and then I mean we'll get into this separately, but I think about doing things to attract or like grab people's attention more. Like say one year I put Christmas lights along my gate and I was thinking,
Oh,
like
yeah.
people that drive at night would be like, oh, why are there random Christmas lights on that rural gateway and notice it. And then they got stolen within like a couple of days. And so
Classic.
I think about doing things to grab people's attention. And then I think, but wait, am I going to get people's attention who will buy my flowers or be people who will steal from me? So that's hard. But that didn't really help with answering the question of like, getting an audience. But I do think it is challenging. Like it's not as easy as just setting up a stand and people automatically starting to realize they can come there. But yeah, I have Instagram, have had success with using ads on Instagram. There's like a particular style of reel that I post, which is coming from the road and walking up the little like pathway, seeing my flag, my sign, and the flowers. That as an ad has performed really well for me, and I get lots of new followers from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done it for ages because since I built my new stand at the end of last season, I don't actually have a good video, or I don't have a video of it that I've posted without music, so I can't use it as an ad. So it's been probably 6 months since I've done that, but I should. I should get around to doing that. But yeah, definitely that's a way that people have found me. And then I think also like word of mouth, which is really nice, and it's I always get really positive feedback about how long my flowers last and that sort of thing. And so I do feel a bit like people just very slowly telling people has really increased my sales, which is nice. And even like,
have you thought about like signage along the road? Has that been like a barrier in your mind because you'd have to ask
yes,
someone else because it would need to be on someone else's property?
Yes, exactly. That has been in the too hard basket. When I first moved my stand home, I put a sign on the road attached to a tree. And then that afternoon when I packed up, I couldn't be bothered to get it. And it stayed there for a whole week before I went and got it. And so I haven't done it since.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should put more signage up. I also would like to get a second flag so that like it's kind of like a driveway that you walk up to get to the stand so that there's one on each side. And that one, I just need to actually get around to ordering it.
Could you put a sign up that is like has your specific days on it so you can just leave it up?
Yeah, I should do that. I don't have that. I have a sign on my gateway that just has it has my number and my email address. Yeah, I should have up like that I'm open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That probably would be very helpful.
And even like closer to the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got good ideas. The sign that I have, it's really dodgy. It's like a chalkboard, and what's written on it was what Ian and I wrote the night before I first started selling, which is like close to 3 years ago. It's like a month away from being 3 years ago. And it's still like the same chalk writing, which is funny. But yeah, it definitely needs an upgrade because it falls over in the wind sometimes, and now it's quite damaged.
Yeah.
And I have actually gone to the shops to buy another one, and then they're out of stock. And of course, it's just one of those things that's hard to get around to. And it still mostly functions, so it's not urgent.
Yes. And really you sell out most days. So
Yeah.
it's that thing of I don't really need to push much
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You
particularly
could.
at the moment where I feel like I'm short on flowers. So it's kind of more about just trying to service
Mhm.
my customers already so that they don't have a gap where they haven't been able to get flowers from me. In terms of social media, yeah, I think Instagram ads where you can target your audience to be just local. I do think that's quite helpful.
Oh, yeah.
And then I do think posting in your local Facebook pages is also helpful. I haven't done that in a long time, but occasionally someone will ask, like, does anyone know the girl who has the flower stand? Or does anyone know what days they're open? And people will tag me and then I can answer those questions. And whenever that, like even just like that amount of a post, which is not advertising, it's just kind of like answering someone, I'll always get new followers on my Instagram
Mhm.
and Facebook pages. So I do think those
Yeah.
pages
I
are really
feel like
valuable.
Facebook is really, really valuable for targeting local, maybe more
Yes.
so than Instagram. So as far as taking payment goes, it's tricky with the roadside stand and trying to keep things, well, you mentioned theft
Yeah.
before. You do take cash. You've got your cash box screwed down, but you also take digital payment. Do you want to talk about the whole payment process?
Yeah. I'm someone who like hardly ever has cash on them. So I was always keen to have
Yeah.
an option other than cash because I didn't want that to be a barrier to people. So yeah, I have a cash box, but I also have my mobile number up as a pay ID so that people can do a bank transfer. And
Mhm.
lots of people do that and it works really well. It's easy. There's no fees involved. I like not having my actual bank details written in like a public space. And yeah, I mean, some people in busy periods like Mother's Day, when I have someone down there, which my mum helps out with that, she would find quite a lot of people didn't know how to do the pay ID. So that is a bit of an issue. But I kind of hope that people either can work that out or have cash, that maybe it would tend to be older
Mm.
people that can't work out the pay ID thing.
Yeah.
And so therefore, yeah, maybe they'll remember to bring cash. But I do also have a QR code that goes through Stripe. And that way people can pay
Oh,
with
okay.
like Apple Pay. They don't have like
Yeah.
anything where you can tap a card, but it means that you can pay with a credit card rather than it being a bank transfer. And with that, there are fees that I just add to their side. So that gets added to them. So I
Mhm.
still get the full amount. And yeah, that works pretty well. And it's about $1 and people don't seem to mind. Like sometimes when I'm down there and I see people, I'll say, oh, you can do a bank transfer or you can just scan this. It costs you an extra dollar. And most people are happy to just pay that.
I
Yeah,
would.
which is fine. And yeah, I probably between the three, it changes week to week, but I get roughly an even spread across all three. But yeah, and
Yeah.
that's worked for me. I would love to have like a where people could just tap a card, but I haven't found any option for something that wouldn't be an issue with theft of the actual device being stolen.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. I don't think it's a big enough barrier for people to risk that anyway.
yes, exactly. And then
Yeah.
also, where our stand is a long way from our house. We have quite I guess, a long frontage of our property, and it's at the opposite corner. And so the internet is not reliable down there either, as in our Wi-Fi internet.
Yeah.
So that would be difficult with those things as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think what you're doing is, yeah, the best option, especially in your situation, and probably the best option in general for a roadside stand.
Yeah, and I guess that it's also like low cost as well,
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
opposed to having
absolutely.
to buy a device or pay for software.
Yeah. Speaking of costs, are there any hidden costs that catch people out?
With selling retail, I mean, stuff like just whatever you're wrapping them in, that adds up, and it's not a
Mm.
lot per bunch. But when I have to do an order of paper, it's a lot of money. Like I'm spending hundreds of dollars on that. I've used heaps of different materials for that. If you're using paper that doesn't hold up well, and therefore you're either having to replace it or you can't reuse it, I guess. Yeah, like that's definitely something to factor in.
Do you mean doesn't hold up well in like storage, like in your shed?
I was meaning, say,
Uh,
tissue paper. If it rains, I then have to rewrap that bunch. Or if a bucket falls over and it gets
that's
wet, that sort of
tricky
thing.
because you are trying to be as sustainably minded as possible,
Yeah.
but you also want your business to be sustainable. That is a tricky one.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, I use heaps of just brown craft paper. That's definitely my go-to.
Yeah.
It's also like cheap. Like it works out a little bit cheaper per piece of paper.
And you use a thicker, it's not like
Sorry?
super thick, but it's thicker than just normal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's pretty sturdy. It's fine if it gets wet, but it's not waxy or anything like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I do also it's like textured paper that you can get. I get all
Yes.
my paper from APAC. That's where I like it from. I've also ordered from Kosh & Co, but I just don't like them quite as much. It's like for various types of paper, either it's not quite as thick or there's just been little things that I don't like. And so, yeah, I really like APAC's paper. Yeah. But yeah, there's a big difference between like buying the brown paper from there that's maybe like 20 cents a sheet compared to, I mean, I would love to buy the like perfectly compostable wraps. That being like spending $1 per one, like that's a big difference to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any other little small hidden costs? Like you've got elastic bands. Is there anything else?
Like I just lay mine in buckets and people take them sometimes, not realizing that they're not supposed to. And
Yeah.
that has been a bit of a playing around with what works best. And again, I've got some that I really like from APAC because they're sturdy and they're also good for transporting bunches of flowers in your car because they're sturdy enough that they don't fall over,
Yeah.
which is really nice. I think all of that is a bit of trial and error to work out what you like. If you're going to sell in jars or vases, that would be an extra expense, but I don't do that very often. I'm always tempted when I have short stems of things like anemones at the start of spring to do little jars of flowers. But yeah, then I always get a bit like, but then people won't know if they're the same price as everything else, and I just haven't ever ventured into that.
I feel like you could and just like have a sign up that clearly says, jars and bunches and the different prices.
Yeah.
And a jar will like fit in, well, depending on the jar, but most jars will fit in someone's cup holder as well.
Yes. And then I have heaps of jars. I have people that collect jars and give them to me. I hate the cleaning of them. That's a hidden expense if you're doing that. It's so much work. And I now, if I give out a jar, which is normally, it would normally be for an order, if I realize they're traveling a long way and they're going to be out of water, I'll give them a jar and just be like, sorry, it still has its label on, just recycle it.
Oh, absolutely.
But yes, the difference of like, if you're actually presenting them for sale with the jar as part of it, you obviously need to get the jar looking nice and clean.
Yes, you do. And do you factor all of these small costs into your pricing?
Yeah, I try to. I would generally allow like $1 to $2 for those things.
Yeah.
Which pricing is definitely really tricky pricing generally is really tricky. And yeah, I think selling retail allows you a bit of flexibility, but it is also something that I try to be fairly careful of, that I am charging enough for what people are getting.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll go more into pricing a bit later on. But what do you do with your leftover flowers?
I try to dry what will dry well.
Great.
I give bunches away a lot. I work off the farm on a Monday, so I'll take bunches of flowers with me to work and give them to people sometimes. Sometimes I'll just put them in the fridge and deal with them later.
And avoid composting them because it's heartbreaking.
Exactly. I try very hard not to, but this week I had a couple of bunches left over and I brought a lot of them into the house because they were the first stems of stuff. So I had some lilies that were my first lilies, and so I just wanted to watch them open, or I'll experiment with different things with vase life. So yeah, I try to always find a use for them in some way. I think I mentioned on the episode with Beck, I took a big bucket of flowers that had just been a mix of leftovers from the stand and leftovers that had just not been used but had just been left in the fridge for too long that I wouldn't sell them, and gave them to a florist that's building up her portfolio on her Instagram for her to do something with, kind of thing. So yeah, I always try and find something to do with them.
I love that. And she created something so beautiful.
Yeah. And it was lovely to see my flowers used like that.
Yeah, very cool. So have you you haven't really sold any other way other than direct orders and from your stand. You haven't done markets or pop-ups or anything?
No, I haven't. And my husband, Ian, he would love to do markets. Like that's something that he, for ages, has been wanting me to do. And a couple of things that have stopped
Yeah,
me
he's a
is,
people person.
yes, exactly. Like with little kids, the roadside stand just works so nicely because I can be at home with my kids and flowers be selling. So markets would definitely be challenging, but maybe in the future as they get bigger, not so much. And then I've been intimidated by the need to have insurance to do markets, whereas we have farm insurance that covers the roadside stand. That's definitely something that's important to look into. But yeah, because we are on a farm-sized property, we already had that. And yeah, just needed to check that it was definitely covered before starting. But yeah, I do see the benefit in markets. Particularly, if you don't have the ability to sell at a stand. But even so, like, I do think it's still something I would consider just for getting my name and my brand out there, because it would be a good way to meet people and for people to experience my flowers that then might draw them back to my property.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially a market that is like close by, where
Yes.
the people that are going to that market are potential customers that will be driving past your house.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like you wouldn't want to go into a market in Newcastle. You would want to be at a market close by.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I kind of go into it just being like, okay, this is basically a day of advertising.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'd still be so much to learn, but I think it'd be fun. I think I like what I've seen people do at markets where they have some bunches made up, but mostly they just make them on the day. I think that would be a really fun way of people kind of seeing a bit of what you do, and also
And then
keeping
it's
your
kind of
hands
like
busy
forced interaction as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be very good at just standing there waiting for someone to come and talk to me. But if I had stuff to do and people could approach if they wanted to, or that sort of thing, I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. What do you think some of the cons are to markets though?
I think the time off farm, I think that would be a big challenge, that you're kind of committing to a whole day or a whole morning where you're not getting anything else done. And then
Yeah,
I
it'd
feel
end up being a whole day really when you think about the travel and then set up and pack
yes,
down, and then you get home and you've got to
unpack everything.
unload and
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, yeah, I think you obviously have to, well, in most circumstances, have to pay a fee to be there. So you kind of already have a significant cost that you need to cover before you can start making any profit. And yeah, that would be a pretty challenging thing when you're starting out and you're not sure how much money you're going to make, I guess.
Yeah.
And then obviously having to transfer.
Have you ever done?
Obviously.
Yes. Yeah. Have you ever done pop-ups?
I did one in a coffee shop for Mother's Day, and yeah, that was really great. I think I can't remember. It wasn't a lot of bunches. It was maybe I took down 10 and they sold out within like an hour or two, and they called me being like, can you bring more? And I did. And yeah, and that was really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would.
Will you do that again?
Yeah, I would. The manager who organized it, she had left by the time, like, because Mother's Day is the end of the season. She had then left by the time the next season came around. And so I didn't pursue it. Like, wasn't one of my focuses. But yeah, again, I think that's a good way to, for more people to notice you. But I guess if you're doing those sorts of things, you need to have your branding really out there so that people can buy a bunch and then find you.
Yeah, or it could be a really good alternative to a roadside stand.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ability to set up a roadside stand, or if you are in a quiet area, selling in a cafe where there's already foot traffic, or a shop, any sort of established business, I feel like is a good alternative.
Yeah. I think a coffee shop is a great idea because it's something that will benefit both of you. There's also a like a fruit and veggie shop that I have considered asking, because I have like a mutual friend with the person who runs it. And because they kind of are like interested in supporting local fruit and veggie growers, it's kind of like that local connection. But yeah, for me, so far the stand has been able to sell enough of my flowers that I haven't gone down that path.
So going back to roadside stands a little bit, what flowers do you find work best for your customers?
I think I kind of first just want things that have a good vase life.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be around that 5 days to a week that they're going to last. But there's certainly, obviously lots of flowers that fit into that. So then next, the way that my flower stand is set up, their flowers are in the shade until the afternoon, but then in the afternoon they are in the sun, and the direction that it faces, which 'cause it has to face the road, it gets a lot of wind. So I want flowers that are going to hold up kind of being out for 8 hours, which is a lot like that. There's a lot of flowers that you could sell in a retail shop that would have a great vase life that aren't going to hold up as well
I hadn't thought of that.
being out in the elements. I feel like we've had a particularly hot, windy spring, which it's hard when you have those spring flowers, which are better in cooler weather. If you then have hot weather while they're flowering, it's not only that it's going to affect it up till harvest, it's also going to affect it when it's being out kind of like on display. But yeah, how that I've combated that is with using a lot of status and paper daisies and those kind of more everlasting type flowers, so that if you've kind of compromised vase life due to being out in the weather, the bunch is still going to have some good long-lasting flowers as well. And then one of the other things is because I'm, in terms of pricing, I'm not putting a large markup on my arranging skills. Like, they're market bunches, they're still mixed bunches. I mean, yeah, even the fact that I call them bunches, I don't generally refer to them as bouquets very much, and I just want them to be quick. So one of the other things that
you're
I
not
want,
like fussing around with
exactly
designing, you're just
Exactly.
throwing stems together.
yes,
Yeah.
like this week in particular, I've had some bigger flowers. Sorry, that was what I was going to say. Big flowers are good because they just take up space and they're much less fiddly to arrange with. Yeah, this week I've had sunflowers, lily, glads, and campanula, and literally just putting like 4 or 5 of those in a bunch, literally no arranging, just putting them in, wrapping them, and so much quicker.
So good.
So nice. So yeah, that is a really great thing for me. And the previous week, when a lot of those flowers I just mentioned hadn't started or only had a handful of them, I was using pansies, and man, I loved them. But yeah, way more fiddly because of their stems, and also because they're smaller, they needed to be in a particular spot in the bouquet to have any impact.
Yeah.
You couldn't just...
You did have to arrange.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you're talking about some specific crops. Are there any go-to crops that your customers always love and look forward to, and maybe are more interested in stopping and buying when those are around?
I think dahlias would be the top one that I've had the most customers specifically mentioning them and asking when they're going to be flowering. I think that ranunculus kind of have a similar, I get a similar response, but people don't necessarily know what they are, but they sell very well, and I love starting the season with ranunculus. And then sunflowers. It's like a specific group of people, I suppose, that come looking for sunflowers as well. I think that people like that they're also really popular. And then there's other things like sweet peas that have that nostalgic factor, which I suppose pansies do as well. But I wouldn't say I've yet had any feedback on that because it's only been in the last month that I've had them. It's my first year growing them. But yeah, sweet peas definitely. People absolutely love them. And then they also have scent, which people like.
Yeah.
I have also had, just generally about scent, I've had feedback of when I've used things like mint or basil. Like, I've previously grown lemon basil, and people always are like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? Like, yeah, that bunch smells amazing kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like that, even having it in your house, I mean, and I'm just picturing like on a dining table, having herbs
totally
on your dining table while you're eating is, that's
it's
cool.
nice. Yeah.
Have there been any fun or experimental crops that you've tried?
My one for this year that I'd say was a success would be Russian status, that pink spike. And not a lot of it has made it into my retail bunches because I've sold most of it to florists.
They've been so excited about it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I need to find a whole bed for it next year. I only just grew like a meter of it this year.
It is. Did you find it tricky to grow as far as getting it to like a healthy, good sized plant?
Easy to germinate, hard to get it big enough to plant out.
It's kind of like Rudbeckia.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I also grew a trial of Amobium or Winged Everlasting this year. And that has That I think is really great for dried, but I haven't found it has sold that well in my fresh bunches, which is interesting. But yeah, like I currently have a florist who wants to buy more of it as a dried flower.
Do you think it's because it looks like a dried flower?
Yeah, maybe.
When someone's buying a fresh bunch, they want, things that look fresh.
And it's also just very small. And I think it's
Yeah.
that thing of, because in dried flowers, you'll appreciate the little details. I mean, you're looking for something so different in dried flowers. And you're looking for the textures and that sort of thing. Whereas, yeah, I just think I will keep growing it. I really like it, but I'll probably use it exclusively for drying.
Yeah. Do you use retail sales to test customer interest in unusual varieties, or do you do it the other way where you're using florists to gauge interest?
Yes, I would say that. And florists are kind of what I'll prioritize to an extent.
Yeah.
Because I'll grow a crop if florists will buy it, even if retail customers don't, which my example of that would be Bells of Ireland, which I've found don't seem to, all of these are generalizations from averages. There's obviously like nothing specific. Some people, like some retail customers, will love Bells of Ireland. But in terms of like my averages of what sells, I didn't find that they seemed to add a lot of value in the way people saw them. But then florists, I've been sold out each week that I've listed Bells of Ireland.
I'd say that's because it's green, so it looks like foliage.
Like foliage. Yeah.
Whereas the way that it's used in like event work and with events as well at the moment, green and that vibrant, almost chartreuse green is very in fashion with white or whatever. The way it's used and the way it's designed with as well, it's more like a structural thing, and that makes bells really shine, whereas in a wrapped bunch it's sort of like a bit hidden. It's almost like a waste putting bells in a bunch.
Yes. And I think again, like I've sold it to retail florists, so it's like I'm kind of contradicting myself in a way, but I think in bigger bunches it can also be more of a feature. But it's something just about my size, and also like my retail bunches, when they can be, are bright as bright can be, and I love that, and that's what sells best. So yeah, it's just like it is specific to my setup, and I don't know if it's particularly my location, or it's like the people who would stop at a roadside stand would tend to all be similar, like in different locations. But yeah, so I like to gauge whether things are popular for retail, but I prioritize florists in my crop planning in that way, in the like fun stuff.
Have you found customers like the weird stuff, or is it more florists that are liking the weird stuff?
Yeah, there have been some things that surprised me, like the echinacea head when you pick the petals off.
Yes.
That was something before I was selling to florists that I had and was like, I don't know if this is going to sell, but I'll just chuck it in a bunch. And every time I've ever used that, it's like one of the first bunches to sell.
So cool.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, I do think there's definitely room for fun, weird stuff in retail as well.
Yeah, and it helps stand out.
Yes.
When customers are like picking between bunches, because you're not working off a recipe where all of your bunches are the same, or even half of them are the same. And yeah, it's interesting being able to see what bunches go first.
It is. And if I was to say what my competition is, and I mean, again, in a roadside stand, I don't really know who's buying my flowers, but I would say to an extent it's people who would otherwise buy flowers from a supermarket. In terms of price comparison, they're probably not necessarily people who would be going to a florist and buying those sort of flowers. So I do think the stuff that I grow that you can't get in a supermarket bunch, that's
like an added value.
So like I think that's why dahlias, because dahlias at a supermarket are gross when you see them, they're half dead. And also ranunculus, something that I don't think I've ever seen.
Never seen. I think they're too high value.
Yeah, exactly. So that is something that I aim for. Like that's something that I factor in.
Yeah.
That's also kind of like what I was going to say, where I see myself. And that I don't mean that in a derogatory way of like, oh, I'm only the low level of supermarket bunches. But it's just that's the sort of customer base that I think I have.
That's good that you have something to compare yourself to that isn't, because your customers aren't people that are going to walk into a florist shop.
Yes. And I mean, this seems to be a topic that we keep coming up to, of like competition and selling retail and also selling to florists. And I don't ever see myself as taking business away from florists.
No.
And I don't feel guilty for taking business away from supermarkets.
Yeah,
Like that gives me no guilt
absolutely.
at all.
That's a really good like position to have.
Yeah.
I think that's a great like customer base.
Yeah, totally.
Especially for
And
someone selling to florists as well.
yeah. Yeah, and I think like pricing wise, maybe I could have started all of this differently and aimed myself at people who are looking to spend more on flowers. I guess for context, I sell mostly $20 bunches. So like and again, I use the word bunch because they're not arranged like a bouquet. And I do custom orders of bouquets.
Yes, that are more expensive.
Yeah, but part of it is that like I just was talking about with varieties, they're out in the weather. You're not getting a premium product like you would at a florist. Even if that same florist has bought my flowers, if you buy it through them, you're actually getting a better product because it hasn't been exposed to those things.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I don't sell $50 bouquets in my stand.
Your stems per bunch is also like you're not overstuffing your bunches.
Yeah.
People, I mean, you used to, but you
totally
have like strict boundaries around what you put in a bunch now.
Yeah.
Unless it's the time of year where there's no focal flowers and then you've got to really stuff the bunches.
Exactly.
But yeah, typically, how many stems do you put in a bunch?
I do it by value.
Look at you go.
Yeah, like off the top of my head. And I don't look at a bunch and think this is like $19 and so therefore I can't add any.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that level of strict. But yeah, because I basically list at least all of my flowers as a wholesale price. I now just know them off the top of my head. So it's very easy for me to look and be like, yeah, and I'm aiming for $10 worth of flowers or really $9 worth of flowers to then have a 2 times markup and allow for 8-bar elastic bands. Yeah, that's what I do. So yeah, that's why yesterday, like everything I was using was like vaguely around a $2 stem.
Yeah. So there was
like 4 or 5 stems.
I feel like that's like something a lot of growers would aspire to. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and I mean that's just like a gradual thing, and having an availability list with prices listed for everything has helped immensely because I don't have to calculate as I go. I just know those prices.
That would be helpful for growers who don't sell wholesale to create a wholesale price list for themselves just to reference.
Yeah, and I think how you can discount flowers when you're selling them to florists when they have short stems and that sort of thing. Like there's compromise in it. Like last night I was using some very short foxgloves that I wouldn't ever even offer to a florist, but I could tuck them into the bunches. And so like in my head that was $1 instead of I normally sell foxgloves for $2 a stem. Yeah.
Cool. And I suppose because you're viewing your customers as customers who would usually buy flowers from the supermarket, how are you factoring in your convenience and availability when it comes to pricing?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of, I see that thing of what we've just discussed of like the temperature control issue of having a stand. I am also like very convenient the way that it's set up. So it's easy for people to stop and people stop with their kids.
They don't need to find parking.
Exactly. And like people will stop and don't need to get their kids out of the car because they're literally just
like 3 steps away.
But then also if people do want to get their kids out of the car, it's off a road. They're not stopping. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky with the way that mine is set up, which is that they built a new road near my house. And so there's like a dead end of what the old road used to be that is kind of like a little parking lot for my flower stand.
Yeah.
Very,
but
very
you're
lucky.
also right on a main road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an 80-kilometre road.
Yeah. It's perfect. Do you prioritize your wholesale orders first and then sell what's left for retail afterwards? Or do you plan for both from the start? Or is it the other way around?
I would say I plan for both. And then for most things, I tend to offer them. They're all available for florists to buy. And I would generally sell the very best of what I have to florists. And so we sell to florists at the harvest on a Thursday. And then whatever is left, I harvest and sell over the weekend out of my stand. Yeah. And there are some things that I don't offer to florists and I think I'll keep them for myself. But that tends to be more, I would need to charge so much for this. Say like king proteas. Like I'm only going to have 8 of them this year. I'm not going to bother trying to sell them to florists. And also I don't want to step on the toes of the girls who grow lots of them that are in our group. And to me, I'm like more than what a wholesale king protea is to me. And I've only been selling them in $50 bunches. I'm like, I need at least $50 to part ways with a protea.
When you have tried so hard to grow them and lost so many, you've got this like attachment to
Yes,
them.
exactly,
No
which
way
is
you're gonna sell
irrational.
them to
So,
someone
like,
else.
yeah, there's no point that, and like, another example is my eucalyptus, which I really love using. And at the moment, I could be selling it to florists. And I heard last week them mentioning that eucalyptus has been hard to get. But yeah, for what the like going wholesale price of it is at the moment, I'm not willing to part with mine.
Yeah.
It's more useful for me to save it through the season and use it when I need foliage.
Yeah, I totally
Because
agree.
actually, this is an interesting point. I would say eucalyptus in a bunch kind of counts like the opposite of bells of Ireland. I can use eucalyptus in a bunch as like a flower stem, like as in it brings that value, like saying that a bells of Ireland's kind of just like something green there that people don't seem to appreciate. Anytime I use eucalyptus, people love it.
And I guess it's also most stems of it are kind of like branching as well.
So take up space.
And where a bells of Ireland is
A spike.
and it's thick and sturdy.
Yeah. Eucalyptus has that whimsy.
Yeah. It's almost like a spray.
Yeah, and it's also scent. It does tick a lot of boxes.
That's so true. In saying that, I personally would buy a bunch with bells of Ireland in it.
Yes.
But I can see where the value is in eucalyptus.
Yeah. But yes, so there are, me saying like I prioritize selling to florists first. I do. But then there's some things that it's more about the going wholesale price.
Yeah.
I don't see it as worth selling to them.
Absolutely.
I'm
think
not
that's
willing
so
to part
fair.
with it.
Yeah. So back to the farm stand again. I feel like we keep like veering off it a little bit. Theft is a common worry for people setting up farm stands. How have you dealt with this? And I know you have dealt with issues and you've handled it very well and you've come up with ways to manage it. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I'd say I've always had a bit of theft. Like, I'd say 90% of bunches get paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a pretty high rate. And I'm always really disappointed when I, work out the money and think, oh, something's gone missing. I used to have a trail camera, which was good. It would be movement activated and record a video. I think you could change the time of how long it was for. And yeah, it was like it worked a bit as a bit of a deterrent, but it had a data plan on it so that it would transfer to my phone. And then the year of me paying for that ran out and I thought, it's not really worth it. When a bunch does go missing, I don't filter through I don't bother checking it basically. So I stopped paying for that, which will come up later. But then I think it had a memory card. I was like, I don't need it to be instantly on my phone. It's got a memory card. I can look into it. Then bunches go missing here and there. I had an incident where 3 weeks in a row, first one bunch went missing, the next week 2 bunches went missing, and then the third, all of the bunches went missing, like on a Friday, 3 Fridays in a row. And that really upset me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that made me
even
start.
2 bunches.
Yeah.
Even one bunch. But
And I started paying more attention to the camera, making sure I put it out. I changed the location that it was in so that it was going to have a better view. And then again, when I moved it for a while, the theft stopped because it was much more obvious where I moved it. So it was actually inside of my stand.
It was like
looking direct at
them. Yeah.
And then I had a day when 5 bunches were stolen. So I got the memory card out and I had to go and buy a memory card reader because my laptop didn't. It was this whole big thing.
Yeah.
And found a very clear video of a woman stealing them. And so I went to the police and I took the video in and showed them, and they were very nice and polite, but obviously it's not a big deal to them.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, we'll take it. We'll see if anyone recognizes her. Nothing much we can do.
Yeah.
But I asked them if it was okay to post the footage, and they said, yeah, that's basically all you can do. So I posted it on my Instagram, just being like, I think I might have even said there's not a lot of flowers today. Sadly, I had this happen yesterday and I'm feeling pretty discouraged. Yeah. And I got overwhelmed with messages, including quite a few people who recognized her. And I don't know if I would recommend it. We found her.
But what can you do?
What else can you do? I don't think she steals from me anymore. So I guess in a way it worked.
You were very distressed though, because you were worried about the implications of it. So would you do it again?
I don't think so.
No. I don't know if I would either.
No.
I feel like I would like to think that I would.
Yeah.
I just know myself, and any form of confrontation I avoid with my whole heart.
Yeah. And she contacted me directly and threatened to go to the police for defamation. And I just didn't respond. But I was really pleased that I'd talked to the police before posting it. So I knew that it was okay that I had. And then, she came back. Look, this is an assumption. Somebody came 2 weeks later and stole our entire money box and the entire camera. And so that's part of why I'm like, I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing it because, that was really shitty. And because, it was last season. It was at the end of last season. What? And so because I hadn't paid to renew the data, I didn't have footage of them stealing it because I needed to get the memory card out to get the videos. So I no longer have a trail camera. I now have Wi-Fi cameras, and I spent so much money getting Wi-Fi down to the stand. And I have one located up high, which would be difficult to get to. And then I have one in the stand. So if they stole the one in the stand, I would have footage of them on the other camera, basically. And since setting those up, I have had less theft, but still some. Yeah. So was any of that useful? I don't know. Maybe we won't keep all of that discussion in.
No, I
think
think
like
it's
a story
useful
time,
for everyone to know.
I think it's going to be part of it, no matter how lovely of a community you have.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And there's loss in the floral industry in any realm of it.
And
it's just that's particularly a disheartening form of loss.
It doesn't bother me when I have bunches left over. And I used to be before that bit happened, I used to be very like, I hope it was someone who just needed flowers and just couldn't afford them. But when it became them taking all of my flowers, so even times when I would see people drive up and find the stand empty and know that someone had stolen bunches and then other people missed out, that's kind of what gets to me more than the money.
For the convenience of a farm stand, do you feel like it's worth it?
Yeah, definitely. And if you're selling at a shop, you're going to have more wastage in terms of bunches that sit there and don't sell, potentially, unless you're selling out all the time. But I don't feel like your goal should be to sell out. I feel like your goal should be to have leftovers. So, like you said, there's going to be wastage. And for me, that is outweighed by the good people. Like the other day when I was just driving out and I saw a guy pay and then be holding up his phone, showing the camera that he'd paid. And so sweet. And so sweet that people think I'm watching that closely because I'm not. Even when
when one bunch goes missing,
a bunch
you're not
went
checking.
missing yesterday. I didn't check the cameras. Because not worth my time, $20. And what am I actually going to do with it?
It could also just be that they didn't use Osco Pay.
Yeah, true.
Does that ever happen? Where it turns up 2 days later?
It does. Actually, 2 bunches didn't get paid for yesterday, but one of them was a friend and they transferred to today. I saw that come through and I was like, that's only one bunch went missing. I would say you need to be able to accept it. And Ian does really struggle. It really bothers him just the idea that someone is stealing from us, whereas that doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah. Oh, well, moving on from the negative.
Yeah.
And just more the logistics of having a farm stand. What kind of setup did you start for and what have you moved on to and what sort of size works best? What's the setup?
My first one was really basic. I built it out of a dog kennel that I got for free that I just put legs on, cut holes out of the bottom. So it's it had...
And took the front off, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and took the front off. Yeah. So it was just a little,
roof
tiny
with
little
3
shelter.
walls and legs.
And I built it to fit 8 bunches and I could squeeze 12 in.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what made me determined to upgrade, probably the size. I saw a horse float for sale and because we have horses and I became obsessed with the idea and it was for sale untowable anymore.
Yeah.
But that I could make it into a stand and I became obsessed with that idea and before I could action it, it had sold and then it just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I found a little builder's trailer, which is what I bought. It was unregistered, so we couldn't drive it. It had to come on a truck. But and so
I feel it's perfect because even though pull-out wall, the pull-out side acts as a shade.
Yeah, so it's it has an awning.
Yeah.
And I love that it opens and closes, closes completely, whereas my old one didn't. If I left stuff in there, people would see it.
Yes, the flag or...
Yes, exactly.
Even the money box.
Yeah.
It was... Well, it still is. It's drilled into the wall.
Yeah.
But you can close it so that it's...
Yeah. Our money box is now welded on.
Yeah, that's fancy.
Yeah. So it's welded on. Not my old one was like bolted on, and obviously they worked out how to get in and undo the bolts. But yeah, now it would be very difficult to steal our money box. I shouldn't put that out there, but I mean,
Someone will come with like
an axe and just hack into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I do really like this style, and I mean, we paid less than $500 for it, so it was
Wow.
cheap.
Yeah, that's
it was
great.
really good, and like it's movable, which is nice.
Yeah.
So over winter, we moved it out of our driveway so that it wasn't in the way when we had people coming
and
using
going.
that.
Me getting
Yeah,
compost so I could drive through with the trailer and not have to reverse a trailer.
Yeah, like it's nice to be able to move it to mow around, to whip a snip around. So yeah, the trailer works really well. In terms of size, I mean, yeah, it now fits. I can fit 25 bunches, maybe, I think. And yeah, the way I say I think is that I'm like, sometimes I put them on the outside of it as well, like on the edges of the outside as well, for bigger days. But we are restricted from like a council perspective on how big it can be. Our council is pretty good. You don't have to get approval for a roadside stand, but it has to be smaller than a certain size to fit into that category that doesn't need approval.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did you find that online or did you have to contact someone?
It was just in like their development documents, I think, that handling my brother-in-law is a civil engineer and he was working on on a development that he had access to those. I don't know if I could have just looked them up myself, but it was nice having someone read it who understands that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And tell me the rules I needed to go by.
Yeah, I feel like if someone didn't have someone in their circle that could look at that, it would probably just be easier to contact the council and
Yes. Well, I contacted them first and they said like they couldn't give me any answers and I needed to employ someone to like act on my behalf and see if it was allowed or not. Yet like they couldn't actually answer it. But yeah, I would start by contacting council and see.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm super lucky with the way our property is set up. That it works really well for people to have. They have space to turn in, they have space to park. Maybe I did already say, but also check your insurance in relation to like the council stuff. Depending on what sort of property you have and what sort of like home and contents insurance I would say a lot of people would need to get extra insurance. But we already had insurance because we have people that are just on our place, so people already come onto our property. So yeah, it was
that like public liability or what's that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ours is farm insurance. So it's for people coming onto our farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which is really expensive, but we had it already.
So do you think roadside stands are a good entry point for new growers while they're just building confidence and learning their customers? And
yeah, I think so. I think it's a great place to start if you live somewhere that it's possible. And if not, maybe you have someone nearby where you can tag onto them having a roadside stand. Yeah, like my example is someone already selling hay, which I think is fairly...
Or even not. Maybe you could ask just a random property in a really good spot.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll find someone nicer than
the first person
Katie asked.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to start. I think like just back to pricing, that would be one thing I'd say is just like think really hard about what you want your pricing to be. I need to put my prices up at some point. They've been the same for 3 years. And I feel like I love $20 because so many people pay with a $20 note. Super easy. I think it's going to be inconvenient for people to either need a 20 and a 5 or a 20 and a 10. But
yeah,
I would like to
usually people have like a $20 or a $50 note.
Yes, exactly.
And yeah, the change situation isn't.
But I think people would happily pay more. It's the convenience that keeps it at 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's something to think about. Like, I feel like don't start out cheaply necessarily because you think you need to build up the skills and you put your prices up when you've built those skills.
Because people are used to paying that amount and then will balk when you put them up to more standard pricing.
Yes, I would say, yeah.
And it also takes away from it takes away from the industry in general as far as value goes.
And I think maybe like me talking about, they're bunches, they're not bouquets. Like think about what product you do want to produce because some people love the finessing of bouquets and I don't. I am someone who done is better than perfect. That's kind of my attitude. And so, yeah, I think if you're someone who really likes that, like, put the value in that. Like me saying I do a 2 times markup. That's because of that. I expect some people will take my bunches home and rearrange them in a vase.
Yeah.
and like that doesn't offend me at all. I'm like, yeah, perfect if you're that sort of person.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what makes it in my head fair that I do a 2 times markup rather than a 3 times markup, because I'm not putting as much time into it. I aim for like about a minute per bouquet. Like they're quick.
So good. Yeah. I feel like if someone was like maybe not finessing and really being detail oriented, but they are arranging and maybe there's more stems, like 15 stems, would you say, if you were actually like arranging a bunch? I don't know.
Yeah, it's so dependent on what you're using.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm just trying to think of like pricing wise. I feel like 35 would be.
Yeah, I think 35 is a nice amount.
Yeah.
I mean, as a comparison for my website, I'm doing 30, 50, 75, and 100.
Yeah.
And they are bouquets, not busted. And, you know, it's also different. Part of that is because I'm not willing to do single $20 bunches. Like part of why they're cheap is because I do them in bulk. Like I do them all at once. But to go out and harvest for just one, $20 isn't viable for me, which I certainly used to. I have. Yeah. And have decided that I won't do that anymore. Yeah, I think $35 is a really nice amount. Yeah. As well. But
as long as you're not putting like too much time perfecting.
Yes. And also 35, if you're thinking about what notes that is for people, it's very annoying.
Also, yeah, I said 15 stems. That doesn't work out as far as a markup goes for wholesale, because wholesale, you don't really get one stem for less than $1 now.
Yeah.
There's very few things that sell for less than $1 a stem wholesale.
Even 10 stems.
Yeah.
That makes a big bouquet in most stems. Like even if you had a 10 stem bunch of sweet peas that we sell wholesale, like that's a big bunch.
Yeah, true. Oh God, yeah. I guess this shows my lack of experience, because the only time I arrange flowers, I'm doing like a huge
things,
like vase arrangement where I need like 2 full buckets of flowers because I want to make impact for myself. Like I want to play. I want to create. Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, if I want to arrange something, I need lots of stems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, pricing is tricky.
Pricing is very tricky. I think, having a list of your wholesale prices is a great way to start, even if you don't sell wholesale. That's a good tip.
When I first started, I thought I'd done all the research and priced out my stems, but I wasn't doing any markup. So I was doing wholesale. Yeah. So that's, I was trying to do it the way I thought. I just made that one little mistake. Oh, and then the other thing is pricing. Like you can obviously do a variety,
straight
bunches of stuff, which is generally cheaper. So that's an option too.
And I feel like a lot of people actually like that look. Yeah. Especially with things like, you see it a lot with feverfew.
Yeah.
Obviously, sunflowers, dahlias. People will love a straight bunch of dahlias. Do you do that? Would you?
Like I personally like at least some bit of contrasting texture, or like one piece of foliage.
If I was to buy a straight bunch of dahlias, I would want different shapes and different colours as well. Like I would want little tiny poms and balls and decks.
Which, if you're doing that as the grower, you're probably not saving the time that is where the cheap,
because you're going to different areas to cut those. Yeah. Well, to wrap up, we'll give you a little teaser. We just finished recording an episode with Ash from Film and Foliage and Wildflower Academy, and it was so good, if I say so myself. I'm really keen to edit it, actually. I will happily edit that one, because there were some things in it that I was like, wow.
Well, it's a really long one, and I was thinking, okay, heaps of what I said can be edited. I feel like I was like, that could be how we saved time.
Well, I'm definitely editing it, because that was a theme in that episode, actually, Katie's lack of confidence. So I'm editing that one.
And it's interesting, I guess, the background of that Sarah and Ash know each other a lot better than Ash and I do. So I found I got a lot out of it from that perspective. Yeah, that like you guys have talked a lot more than her and I have. So listen along for that one. And thank you for listening to this. I hope that you've gotten some useful information out of it. And I guess if there's any bits you feel like we've missed in covering selling to retail, like get in touch, let us know, because we both have bits of experience. And then we also, we sell to lots of retail florists as well. So we might have an answer.
Yeah.
Or an opinion.
Yeah, if you have questions. And actually, I've had a couple of people say, when they finish listening to our episodes, they want to ring us or like they want to talk. And please like message us or send us a voice memo. Or we won't put it in the podcast, so you don't have to worry about that. But we would love to chat. So feel free to respond.
And we also got our first review in
Apple,
which was really lovely.
Yeah.
Like that was,
we've had a few. Spotify's a bit different. You can like comment on episodes and we've had a few of those. But yeah, we've got our first review, which was so nice.
So lovely and like encouraging to us, but also like it is really helpful for other people to find the podcast if it has some reviews. So yeah, if you have a spare couple of minutes, we'd really appreciate that. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you're listening so our episodes drop into your feed, and follow us along on Instagram where we'll share even more blooms behind the scenes. And if you're lucky, we might even show you the weediest corners of our farms.
Bye.